Headliner Nation, what's going on? Welcome back to the Fantasy Headliners. Kyle back with my Week 7 wide receiver rankings. Let's get ready to go, ladies and gentlemen. We all got to get a dub this week. Let's get our lineup set, ready for Thursday Night Football, and of course, ready for the weekend games as well. Just have to give a quick thank you and shout out to all of you in Headliner Nation. If you follow us over on Twitter, you may have saw a tweet from earlier today. Over the last 30 days, the Fantasy Headliners are the most watched fantasy sports program on YouTube. Over 2.1 million views over the last 30 days. And we appreciate you all for continuing to come back, watch the content, and be a part of something that we have been trying to grow over here for several years. It happens because of you. And we thank you because of that. And we're going to keep turning out this delicious content for you because that's what we do. And that's what drives us. So let's jump into our Week 7 wide receiver rankings at number 30. Jamison Crowder, I'd like to have him a little bit higher this week, but not really loving the matchup. Obviously, when you go up against a team like Buffalo, they can limit the passing game a little bit. He's going to need that volume. Some of those big plays might not be there for him this week. T. Higgins at number 29. The dude's a perma start moving forward. He's really battling with Tyler Boyd for that wide receiver 1 position in Cincinnati right now. He's been used a lot on the outside and in the slot. Both of those guys kind of going back and forth a little bit. Love the way they're utilizing. Joe Burrow loves him. We're going to keep starting T. Higgins. He would be a little bit higher, but when you have A.J. Green and you have Tyler Boyd there with you, it does limit the upside a little bit. Number 28, Darius Slayton on Thursday Night Football. I think this guy could break away with a huge play tonight. Looking forward to it. Definitely the number 1 option for Daniel Jones there, and he's having some pretty good games. Some of the ceiling isn't there every single week, but he's that number 1 option right now, and Sterling Shepard is looking to possibly be back on track tonight. If that does happen, then Darius Slayton could be a guy that, a little bit more focus off him could possibly help. Number 27, DJ Chark. He was out there last week looking good. Led the team in targets. Keelan Cole, a little bit more of the playmaker right now, but I'm not taking anything away from Chark. He is the number 1 wide receiver there and seeing the volume come towards him. I believe it was 14 targets last week. Odell Beckham Jr. at number 26. Hopefully Baker Mayfield is feeling better this week. If we get a little bit closer to Sunday and we're hearing that Baker Mayfield may still be banged up, may not be 100%, then there's a possibility that I'm going to move Odell Beckham Jr. down outside of my top 30. Now, will he still be a start for me this week? Yes, because the situation and the matchup warrants it. But again, I am concerned with him this week if Baker Mayfield is not healthy. And number 25, Travis Fulgham. I talked about him on the start and sit video, and I listed 957 wide receivers from the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing with Philadelphia. They have so many guys hurt right now and so many guys that could potentially be back for the matchup this week that I had to list everybody. The one person that sounds like, yes, they are going to be back and ready to go is Deshaun Jackson. So, does that help Travis Fulgham? I believe it does. I still have him listed as a start. Now, does it potentially bring down some of his upside this week? Yeah, absolutely it does. When you've got a guy like Deshaun Jackson on the other side, it could bring down his upside a little bit, and that's why I don't have him any higher. We'll see, though. I don't think if Deshaun Jackson is in the lineup, I have a feeling Bradbury is going to be on him, and if that happens, that could leave a decent amount of room for Travis Fulgham to operate, and then he comes in and he does well this week. Number 24, Cooper Kupp. He hasn't been his normal reliable self, but this is something again that we've talked about a lot this year and talked about it a lot in the offseason, what we would actually see from the Los Angeles Rams offense. And I think we're seeing a lot of back and forth with what they're trying to utilize and do, and that just might be throwing off the rhythm a little bit for Cooper Kupp because he's bouncing inside and outside so much. I mean, when he was the guy, when he was coming into the league and was a reliable fantasy asset for us every single week, he had Brandon Cooks and Robert Woods on the outside, and he got to linger in the slot more often. Well, now he's going inside and outside a little bit more, more. They're playing some 12 personnel. They're only putting one tight end out there. Now you have two tight ends that they're utilizing a little bit more as well with Tyler Higbee and Gerald Everett. So that's taking away a little bit. So, Cooper Kupp is a guy that I'm not giving up on. He's still a start for me. He's going to be dropping a little bit lower in the rankings for me on a weekly basis. Yeah, he's got good upside every single week, but the offense is just doing such a good job of spreading it around right now that it's hard to imagine that his upside increases too much more over the coming weeks. It's unfortunately, and I don't want to, say that I'm hoping for that or anything, but unfortunately it would take some type of an injury for him to see a higher ceiling. At number 23, Mike Evans. Might be surprising to see him in there because I listed him as a sit this week. The reason I have him in at number 23, though, is because if he does score a touchdown, he's going to fall into this area. But like I mentioned in the start and sit show, that with Mike Evans, when Chris Godwin has been on the field this year, it's all been about the touchdown. If Mike Evans doesn't get his touchdown, he's not a start. And Las Vegas has only given up 4 passing touchdowns all season long. Now, could this be the week in which they turn things around? Yeah, but Las Vegas is coming out of the bye, and Las Vegas also did a pretty good job of, keeping Patrick Mahomes, a little bit frustrated a couple weeks ago. So, is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense better than Tampa Bay's offense and Tom Brady? Yeah, it is. And they get an extra week to prepare for Tampa Bay now coming off the bye. So I think they could really be doing Mike Evans some harm. Now, again, the reason that I have him listed inside the top 30, but he's still a sit for me, is because of that touchdown upside. And he could very well score a touchdown, but it could be, 2 catches for 8 yards and a touchdown, 3 catches for 15 yards and a touchdown, or something like that. Might not be the best overall numbers, but if he were to do something like that, he could potentially fall into this area, and that's why I have him listed here. Number 22, CeeDee Lamb. He is locked and loaded as the number 2 target on that offense. Andy Dalton looked his way last week. He is a guy that has absolutely brought another level to that offense, and it's just too bad that Dallas can't win any games. They can't win any games. But CeeDee Lamb continues to produce. He is a guy that you can put in your lineup every single week as a wide receiver 2 or 3 and get decent production out of him every week. Tyler Boyd at number 21. Basically said what I said with T. Higgins. He's going to be, he's basically a start for me every week. Cincinnati throws the ball more than enough to warrant being able to start both of these guys. But because they both have been seeing so much, that limits the upside for them just a little bit. And like I mentioned too in the start and sit show, that, Joe Mixon's seeing a little bit more targets in the passing game as well over the last few weeks. You still have A.J. Green there. A.J. Green last week saw 8 targets. So you've got plenty of weapons around them. I like both of these guys. Upside is just limited every single week because of how many guys they have there that the ball can go to. And number 20, DJ Moore. DJ Moore looking a lot better last week. A lot better. Him and Robbie Anderson both did. As I mentioned with this matchup between New Orleans and Carolina, that this is the type of matchup that could go either way. It could be a defensive struggle between both teams, and it could be an offensive slugfest. DJ Moore is here at number 20 for me. Him and Robbie Anderson are both starts for me this week. Upside is just a little bit lower than Robbie Anderson, though, just because Robbie Anderson has been that big-time playmaker this season. DJ Moore still getting a decent amount of volume. Yeah, he's underperformed at times, but in a matchup like this, you've got him in your lineup, and you've got him as a start. Number 19, Keenan Allen. I'd love to have him a little bit higher this week, but he might be dealing with a little bit of a back injury. But the volume has been there for him since Justin Herbert took over. I know a lot of people were concerned with Tyrod Taylor to start the year, but Justin Herbert is firmly in the driver's seat as that starting quarterback now, and he has been looking Keenan Allen's way more times than not. A little bit lower this week, though, again, because of dealing with a back injury right now, a little bit banged up. He is going to play from the way it sounds. Just be expecting maybe a little bit of a limited upside this week for him. And number 18, Tyler Lockett. Because I have him at 18 this week, he's probably going to finish at number 8. That's just the way Tyler Lockett operates. He's got a lot of big games, but then he's got some duds. He's inconsistent, and it happens. But he's playing with a guy right now that is the basically front runner for the MVP for the most part. Russell Wilson and that offense are clicking on all cylinders. And of course, he's got DK Metcalf there, who's absolutely killing it right now. It's taking a little bit of pressure off of him. But again, he just hasn't performed well every single week. He's a little bit more boomer bust at number 18 for me this week. At number 17, Michael Thomas. dealing with a hamstring injury now, apparently. So if he's dealing with a hamstring injury, who knows if he gets back on the field again this week? If he does get back on the field again this week, is he 100%? Do we trust him? What do we do? He's listed as a start for me right now. He's inside the top 20 for me right now because, again, this is a matchup that could force New Orleans to throw the ball more often than not. And if that happens, they obviously will be looking Michael Thomas's way. But is he going to put together, one of his usual performances, 10 catches, over 100 yards and a touchdown? Or are we going to see something more along the line of 5 catches for 50 yards and no score? He's still going to be a start for me this week, but the hamstring injury is concerning for me right now. Will Fuller at number 16. The dude is balling out. Him and Brandon Cooks are both balling out. Brandon Cooks, speaking of who's a start for me, is at number 31, just outside my top 30 this week. But Will Fuller is still my guy because I believe he will continue to see the bulk of the volume there. Number 15, Robert Woods, also known as Bobby Trees. He's at number 15 for me this week. He's had some big games, but so far this year he's been fairly consistent. Maybe the top 12 upside every single week isn't always there because, again, you've got Cooper Kupp. They're using the 2 tight ends like we've talked about. They've been trying to run the ball a little bit more. Darrell Henderson looked good last week and has looked good 2 of the last 3 weeks. So, we'll see what happens moving forward with this offense. But, Sean McVay is trying to keep everybody on their toes, including us fantasy analysis, which is, analysts, which is making things a little bit tough to call every single week. But Robert Woods, he's definitely a guy with a very safe floor, even if the ceiling isn't there every single week. Number 14, Robbie Woods. I've got him Robbie Anderson. Who's Robbie Woods? Robbie Anderson at number 14. The dude has just been balling out this year. The big playability shows up every single week, and he's turned himself into a guy that isn't just a straight line runner down the field, burning people with the speed. He's doing a little bit of everything. Allen Robinson at number 13. Not loving the matchup for him this week. It's going to be a little bit of a tough one, but still got him up here at number 13. Why? Because you'll still see plenty of volume. Number 12, Amari Cooper. Mr. Cooper, hashtag always Amari. Welcome back into the top 30 this week. Yeah, I heard it from you guys last week. Some of you, called me out and said, how can you possibly have him outside of your top 30? I thought he was hurt. I was genuinely worried that Amari Cooper was going to be dealing with some of those same foot issues that we saw last year. And I'll say it again. When you see his snap percentage all of a sudden drop down into the 60s after being as high as it was for the first few weeks, that is concerning. And it wasn't a game in which Dallas was blowing out the other team and was running the football a lot. They were still tossing the football around. So why he wasn't on the field more often doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and I haven't heard anything about that. Just a snap percentage all of a sudden, boom, into the basement. Well, last week he was back on track to look good again. He's been a wide receiver 1 all season long. He could be a little bit higher than this, but CeeDee Lamb's making a little bit of a dent in Amari Cooper's targets right now. Even though the targets are there, CeeDee Lamb has shown himself to be a big time playmaker. So he's seeing some of those bigger plays than Cooper right now. But man, the targets are just there. The receiving yards are there. Everything is there to make him a weekly start. Chris Godwin at number 11. He's my only start outside of Gronkowski this week, and J.K. Ronald-Jones is a start for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Chris Godwin should be back on track to be that wide receiver 1 for Tom Brady. At number 10, DK Metcalf. Would like to have him a little bit higher this week, but again, that could be a tougher matchup going up against Patrick Peterson this week. We'll see how he deals with it. He's a guy that can win against anybody in the league. He can definitely win against Patrick Peterson, but because the defense will be a little bit more stringent with him than normal, then yep, I've got him a little bit lower this week because of that ceiling. At number 9, Terry McLaurin. Not a great week last week, but gets a much better matchup this week. The dude is ninth in receiving yards right now in the NFL. He's continuing to see more than enough volume. Again, last week was a down week, but just keep in mind, Kyle Allen made DJ Moore a top fantasy asset last year. There's no reason that he can't form that same connection with Terry McLaurin. A.J. Brown at number 8, tons of upside this week. I could see him finishing as high as number 5 as well. Stephon Diggs, same thing. Huge upside every single week. Stephon Diggs, the big playmaker there in Buffalo. The dude is balling out with Josh Allen. Number 5 and 6, Calvin Ridley at 5, Julio Jones at 6. Got both of these guys right next to each other. in the matchup against Detroit. And you might be asking, Kyle, why do you got Kenny Golladay at 4 just over them? Well, Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones take away from each other a little bit. And like I mentioned in the start and sit show, with how well the offense performed last week, there is a high probability that they go up against Detroit this week and absolutely throttle them in the first half, meaning more running the football in the second half, just limiting some of their upside. For Kenny Golladay, I don't see the Lions doing that to Atlanta. Kenny Golladay also doesn't have another top option wide receiver taking targets away from him, so he has just a little bit more upside for me at number 4 this week. And then 3 guys who are used to the top 3, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, and DeAndre Hopkins. All of them big playmakers, all of them in situations to ball out, and all of them the number 1 option on their team. There you have it, Headliner Nation. We're done with our Week 7 wide receiver rankings. Get your lineup set. Get ready for Thursday Night Football. If you're catching this after Thursday Night Football, that's all right. Let's get ready for Sunday and Monday as well. Leave a comment down below if there was somebody you didn't see. Ask me where I've got them. I'll respond to as many people as I can and let you know. Make sure that you also cross-reference with the start and sit video for wide receivers as well, though. That video is used to go more in depth on each matchup, and this is to show you where we have guys actually ranked. This is what we do later on in the week to update you as we hear more information and to make things a little bit more clear for you as they become more clear for us. Hit that like button if you appreciate the content. And as always, if you're new to the Fantasy Headliners, hit that subscribe button. Become a part of Headliner Nation today. We're almost at 110,000 subscribers. Hit that like button. Hit that share button. Hit that subscribe button. Become a part of Headliner Nation today. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.